Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Mindful Play Summit. Today, we have the opportunity to speak with Stuart Stotts. He's an author, musician, and keynote speaker. Stuart has worked with students, teachers, and families throughout the world, performing, leading workshops, and consulting on arts integration approaches. He is the author of many books, including Beyond Nice, 149 Activities to Nurture Kindness in Young Children. Thank you for watching. Hello, welcome, Stuart Stotts. I am super excited to have you here speaking with us today in the Mindful Play Summit. And I just wanted to start by asking you, the work that you're doing, what inspired you to kind of start this line of work?
Well, I've been a musician for a long time. And when I began to work with children, that wasn't where I started. The engagement and enthusiasm and joy that came from making music with kids was just, hooked me because there's so much laughter and depth of experience when working with kids and well, anything really, if you approach it sort of mindfully and with intention. But music in particular is so it fits so well with what we know about brain development in young children and how children learn and affectively how they learn things like literacy, sequencing, relationships. All those things are so built into music, as well as the way that music provides this safe atmosphere. The safety that's created when people sing together is very powerful for any kind of learning that's part of it.
And how do you feel when you bring that out in your singing and your playing? How do you feel inside you?
Well, at its best, it's just, very, very joyful, really. And I am a musician who, when I work with kids, there's a lot of spontaneity. I don't come in with a program and here's the song and here are the verses and so on. It's much more a co-creative kind of experience where a song is just a foundation for what we're going to do based on the energy in the room and kids' suggestions. There are so many places for kids to be involved, moving, all those kinds of things. So no, no one performance or program or whatever is the same because the kids change and I'm different and the time of day is different. And so there's a real sense of a really collaboration a performance that's really going well.
So beautiful. And I can just envision you being there and releasing any expectation of how this is going to turn out for them and for yourself, because like you say, you have their energy building upon it, and every class or everything is different. So I absolutely love that. And I have to admit, I kind of went on your site and started to listen to your music, because I too love to incorporate music and feeling that energy with the children. So that's absolutely beautiful. And I know our guests that are listening will have access to some of your music downloads, so we'll be sharing that on your speaker page. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about your interview. We've got some questions here today. So can you let us know about the genesis of your book?
The kindness book, you mean,
Yes.
Beyond Nice? Yeah. Um, as you know, I've been working with kids for a long time. I've been doing this work for more than 30 years. And one of the things, I don't know when it was, maybe 8 years ago, in my conversations with teachers, because that's always an interesting part of the work that I do. Often teachers are busy and don't have a lot of time to talk, but sometimes you just have these great conversations. Um, and that's easier when I've done a lot of conferences and so on, easier to have those conversations there. But in any case, it sort of surfaced that a kindness was a huge question and concern for teachers. They wanted their kids to be kind, um, parents as well, but they were also seeing, and it's always hard to know about the perspective of time. Are things really different, or is it just that we're older and so on? But um, in general, there was a sense that there was less kindness in the world, that we were relating to each other less out of that place of love and compassion, and more out of a place of competition and selfishness. Not, of course, both sides are always present, but there was a sense that how do we teach kindness. So I just began to research what do we know about kindness, and the the first was sort of developing a definition of what kindness is, because the book is called Beyond Nice, and many of us have learned to be nice, which is an outward expression. And kindness comes from a much deeper place. When we talk about meditation and mindfulness, which completely enhance our ability to be kind. But kindness is about learning to recognize the good feeling that comes from being kind, rather than it being a moral absolute from outside. Um, so anyway, I just began researching it, and then I began thinking about. So I know, especially early childhood teachers and teachers of young children, um, they're very hands-on, very practical. Theory is great. We'll take a little bit of that, but then what do I do on Monday morning? So the book is really about, I think it's called 149 Ways to Nurture Kindness, something like that. It comes after the colon. Um, it's really a series of activities through themes. So themes like food, nature. I know that's important to you, Crystal. Um, uh, Manners, uh, playing outdoors, gardening, all these different themes that are ways to incorporate or think about kindness, because uh, the last piece about kindness is that it's not like a separate subject, like we're going off to study math, from 10 to 45. It should be built into everything we do, which requires both reflective quality as we're proceeding through the day, but also requires that we are have specific ways to do that. How can we, as we're sitting down to eat, how can we bring kindness to mind? So the book is filled with many activities or examples of ways to integrate that into the daily classroom.
I love that. It's like expanding the awareness, giving that inspiration, and also having, as the educator facilitates this, the educator can embody that self-compassion and also have that kindness piece within themselves. So I just love when you're explaining and you're talking about it, that universal healing, so to speak, right? Where it's not just about being that educator and teaching it, it's also being the educator and experiencing it, right? And
in the book, part of it in the beginning, talking about how, I believe it's a James Baldwin quote about kids have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they've been perfect at imitating them. So it's the way that we model things that's far more important than not even just lectures, but activities or whatever. If you as a human being can embody kindness,
yeah,
that's like 75% of the battle. And then, okay, how do we translate that to kids? But it's not you can't just put it on like a coat.
yes, or a mask, right? And I know we had a little pre-chat before our interview, but what keeps coming back to my mind is, tapping into that within ourselves. So fully recognizing and learning that piece before we can teach others, before we can, like you say, put on that coat and just deliver it, we need to understand that and fully be with that within ourselves. So I absolutely love that piece.
Yes, I would say that that's true, although the word fully I'm not sure about, because I
No, I
believe we're
understand.
all always in process in learning this. And if we wait to be perfect to teach it, we're going to wait in my case anyway, a long time. So I know you know that as well.
Done is better than perfect.
Yeah. Right. So, and I think even if we can see our own learning and our own process, that can help us to see how children are processing. And one of the questions in the book is, what do you believe about human nature? Do you believe that people are inherently good and the world turns them bad? Or do you believe people are inherently bad and the world has to like fix them? And those are two extremes that people live in between. But how you think about people and behavior and so on makes a difference in what you bring to the world as well.
Absolutely. I just love, you can see the wood behind you, you can see the forest out your window. I absolutely adore where you're sitting and where you're enjoying, spending your time. So my next question is, what is the role of joy in education? And I absolutely just love that. how
I,
it's positioned.
I think it's critical.
Yes.
Um, for a couple reasons. Well, more than a couple, but a couple that we'll talk about here. Um, the first is that we know that the brain learns better when it's in a relaxed state of contentment or happiness, feeling safe. So joy enhances learning, whatever you're learning, you know. Um, the second is that joy is just a state of being that we want to model. Um, and one of the I had a song on a recording a few years back. I think it was a bunch of different people with songs, but I think the recording, it was about education. It was called something like "Where is the Joy?" or "Bring Back the Joy" or something like that. And because I know a lot of teachers, you know, and so many of them feel that the joy has been lost from teaching, you know, that it's standardized tests and blah blah blah. We could go on, right? But and as a performer working with kids, sometimes I think that's really my only goal, is to bring joy to the moment. Um, there's more, but you know, without that, you're not gonna really last doing this if you can't do it joyfully and have these joyful experiences. So it's sad to me when I see, especially schools. I think that uh, teachers who work with younger children have a lot more latitude
Yes.
to, you know, build a joyful classroom and do what they wish in the course of a day. And they don't have a curriculum or a pacing guide like a third grade teacher probably has, for example, where on February 12th, we expect you to be on, you know, dividing fractions and so on. So it is a gift to work with
Absolutely.
young children if you're a teacher, because of that freedom, not just around joy, but, you know, to bring the arts more, to bring more music, more movement. It's a really great opportunity that comes out of sort of people thinking that it doesn't matter that much. Like, 3-year-olds, whatever. We'll start teaching them when they can read, but you know, it's completely wrong, of course.
Absolutely.
What kids learn when they're in that 0 to 5, 0 to 3, or whatever, is like 90% of their life, you know, and the rest is just, you know, filling. So
Absolutely. Well, and like we mentioned previously, that the 0 to 5 year, right, and our ability to influence at that year, and for us to be able to play, let go of our own expectations of ourselves, right, and just to show up. What a joyful experience to also play as an educator and feel that with the children, right? It's so easy for us to just say, okay, well, we have to teach this or we have to teach that, or we have all of these expectations of ourselves. To release that and just feel the joy and to play and to sing and to dance or to talk to puppets or whatever it is, knowing that we're also connecting with our inner self, right? That inner piece of our childhood that maybe we were able to express, or maybe we want to express more. And, you know, I'm friends with a grade 1 teacher who's just moved down to kindergarten. She said, the stress of the curriculum, and like you mentioned, the timestamp of what I had to do, she really lost that innate why she became an educator in the beginning. So she went back down to kindergarten, and her whole light of her eyes, her heart, she's now playing, and that joy is coming through her again. And it's a beautiful piece to see. And it'd be interesting, you know, how do we incorporate that piece, that joy, that embodiment throughout the years of learning, where I've met some school teachers and they're absolutely burnt out because there's this expectation of themselves, or, you know, then the judgment coming in from parents, or, you know, maybe this child's not at that level. Like there's so many different layers. So I love, you know, when you express about, you know, the music and the vibration and bringing joy into education, that just really speaks true to my heart.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's true, you know, because you're that kind of, you know, educator and have that way of thinking. And you know, one of the unfortunate things is that here in the U.S., kindergarten has become more what first grade used to be. So
Yes.
many kindergarten teachers that I talk to talk about, you know, the loss of that. But I see teachers, you know, continue to bring that despite the sort of crushing outer circumstances. And I think that we need conversations like this to both encourage teachers that are bent that way, but also to add to the larger conversation about what are those early years about, and
Absolutely.
how can we, you know, practically and specifically create an atmosphere that is joyful. And fortunately, in the last 10 years or so, play has become a big word again, right? For, young children, that we talk about play-based curriculums and so on. And I'm very grateful for that. Although the fact that we have to do that makes, worries me a little bit. But at least now there's a foundation to say this is a good thing for kids. It's what they need.
Absolutely. So my next suggestion or request is, would you like to play with us today and share a little something with our listeners?
Sure. So one of the things that is important in emotional literacy, which leads to the ability to think about kindness and so on, we need to teach kids to be emotionally literate, and is just being able to recognize what you're feeling. And I know that I'm going to move this back just a little bit to make room for the guitar. That as an adult, it's an ongoing challenge to just be able to name feelings as they arise, and not be overwhelmed by, history or shame or judgment or whatever. It's like, I just feel this way, let's start there. And I think kids need that to be modeled and encouraged by the adults around them. What are you feeling? And the problem is, like, young kids don't have the vocabulary, happy, sad, mad, right? So this song is about how can we work in a more kinesthetic fashion to think about identifying feelings. And what I have found is that that's done, it can be done, it's not the only way, can be done through facial expression. That kids can connect to facial expression more than they can connect to words. And so I'll just play just a little bit of this song. And the thing about this song is, like so much of what I do with young children, it's what in my parlance is called a zipper song, which means that you just put in what's appropriate in the moment. I mean, Farmer in the Dell. No, I'm sorry. Old MacDonald is a zipper song. You just, it doesn't come pre-written. It's got a format that you put in, duck or chicken or pig or whatever. So many of the songs, most probably, that I do with young kids are zipper songs because they allow for that spontaneity. I may have an idea to start it out, but then they can contribute. And again, that co-creation of an experience. So this song has a chorus and a verse, and the verse is where the zipper part is. And I'll just demonstrate. I don't, you'll get the idea once I go through it once. I don't need to do the.
I love it. Do you see the smile on my face? I'm just like, we're going to play. I get to hear. Thank you so much, Stuart.
So, well, I can see. Sorry, this is how we play, right? We also like.
Absolutely.
I can show it on my face. I can show it on my face. I can show it on my face. The way I feel happy like this. And then there's a face. Angry like this. Sad like this. Tired like this. I can show it on my face. I can show it on my face. I can show it on my face. The way I feel. So that is, you get the idea that becomes a way, let's just talk about what we're feeling, right? And kids could come up with feelings, and you can work the other way too. You can have a face and put a
you got me all emotional. Look. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's thank you. So yeah, it's just one of many tools for, that's fun, right? Because kids love making faces.
Absolutely.
Right? Nothing about this that's didactic. It's just like, let's figure out what face we want to make. And the one caveat with a song is, I find that kids are really keyed into me as a teacher or you as a singer. So I don't actually make the face, because otherwise they'll just imitate my face.
Absolutely.
Let them, do the face that comes to them, rather than, let me show you what happy looks like, or whatever.
For sure.
So yeah.
So I absolutely love that. And I felt it in my heart. And what's really, really beautiful is that my generation of growing up, and maybe you can echo your generation of growing up. It was like, you're to be seen, not heard, right? So if you have feelings or emotions, we don't talk about those. So for me, hearing that song, and I get all joyful because I love to play, stems that piece where you can express, it's safe to express. And what does happy feel like? What does that look like? But also, where does it sit in your body? Right. And I know when you were playing, I could feel those emotions as I was feeling them and playing along. And I think that's why I got a little teary, because it was so beautiful the way I was just able to just drop in and connect with how you were singing. So I wanted to share that,
Yeah.
and as we express as educators and we support the children express too, we're also healing that generation of be quiet, don't feel, don't, right? So I think that's really beautiful.
First of all, are you saying you and I are not the same generation?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Trust me. But it is true. These are generational issues, just to be able to, that come out of, history that we could dissect. But just, to begin with, like, this is how I feel, and
Absolutely.
you don't need to feel any other way. You just start there. But the other thing that I appreciate about what you said is that it really, this work is very kinesthetic. Your body tells you how you feel. I did some work years ago with an organization. She's gone now, but it's called Protective Behaviors. And there are different iterations of that out there in the world. But what I loved about this was it began not by talking about like stranger danger or things like that. It started by what Peg called the early warning sign, and it's like, where in your body do you feel a sense of anxiety or worry or fear? Where does that start for you? And sometimes it's fun, right? You're on a swing set, you're afraid, you're swinging up really high. It's like, oh, I feel it right here, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
So rather than trying to give external kinds of clues about what was going on, how does your body feel at any given moment? Pay attention to that and start there. Um, and music is one of those ways, right? We're even if we're just jumping up and down and singing, there's a kinesthetic quality of that as well.
Absolutely.
There is meaning that's deeper when we start talking about connecting to emotion.
It's like that mind body connection and learning, right? Creating that new foundation for children. I just learned how to breathe a few years ago, like intentionally breathe, right? Can you imagine the world, with children and growing up with that foundation of breath and mind body connection? I just feel that there's such great hope and positive for future growth. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us. And before we wrap up today, is if there was one thing you could leave our listeners with, and you could wrap it up into a few sentences, what would that be?
I think it would be probably a song.
What's my heart? It's just,
This song I'm in the middle of, or actually toward the end of finishing another recording with my friend Tom Pease, who a fantastic children's performer. And the title song is this song, and it's so if I'll put the words to it as well, which is just the incredible importance of the work that we are doing with young kids, and I mean all of us who are there. The work we need to do internally to do that well, which I know you're well acquainted with, Crystal, and but the work for the world leading out, that this so pass it on down, we can all be kind, fill your bucket up with love, pass it on down the line. It's a zipper song as well, and it's really just the very last line that changes. Pass it on down, we can all be kind, fill your bucket up with dreams, pass it on down the line. So then you get a chance where there was love and where there were dreams, you can put whatever you want. So I'll do it one more time, but I'm going to leave that space open. You can just put, not just you, Crystal, but anybody who got this far in the interview can just put in their word. Pass it on down, We can all be kind. Fill your bucket up with pass
Joy.
it on down the line. Fill your bucket up with dreams. Pass it on down the line. I said, fill your bucket up with hope. Then pass it on down the line.
Woohoo! I'm going to cheer for you. Oh my goodness. Thank you so, so much, Stuart. That has been a greatest gift and such a beautiful expression that we have shared here together. So I just want to share gratitude for coming on and speaking with our listeners.
Well, thank you, Crystal. And thanks to also all of the people who do tune in, to gratitude for and support for the work that brings you here, right? It is an ongoing thing,
Absolutely.
and being here is one more step towards helping kids, helping the world, and also helping ourselves. So thanks for doing this very much.
Thank you so much. And for those of you listening, Stuart is making some maple syrup, so we'll let you get back to your maple syrup. Thanks everybody for watching.